Hi everyone, thanks for joining my session. I hope you are enjoying the sessions with DPS 2021. As you know, it's a great platform to learn new technologies, and we have a lot of sessions scheduled across different tracks from experts around the world. Please make sure to spread the word DPS 2021 in your social media. My session is about how to modernize your Power BI Paginated reports. Thanks to our sponsors and DPS team for organizing this wonderful event. And one quick update, this is a recorded session. While I'm presenting this session to you, I'm also chatting with you in live. You can post your questions and I'll be answering you here. About myself, I'm Hariharan Rajendran. I'm a Microsoft MVP in data platform. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and also a CompTIA classroom trainer. I'm running a user group in Chennai. I'm also one of the Power BI user group leader. My expertise is data and BI. I have worked with various BI technologies. I have presented various sessions in different conferences and summits. I'm a blogger. I often write articles about Power BI and data related stuffs, which you can check it in dataap.org. I'm also running a YouTube channel called Hari's BI, where you can see many Power BI and SAP Business Objects related videos. If you have any queries and if you want to reach me, you can reach me through LinkedIn or Twitter. These are my LinkedIn and Twitter handles. Let me show you the session agenda. This session is more of a demo with less slides, as I'm targeting this session to provide a solution or tips and tricks to apply in your real-time projects. I'll be covering a quick introduction to Power BI Paginated reports and rest all demos. In demo 1, I'll be covering how you can embed your Power BI Paginated reports in Power BI Desktop, and I'll be showing you the modern look and feel, how you can leverage the built-in capabilities to enhance your look and feel, and also you can see different techniques on export options, and I'll be showing you advanced calculations, how you can perform calculations on top of the pre-built functions. And I'll be showing you how you can connect almost any kind of a data sources from Power BI Paginated reports. And finally, I'll be talking about how you can improve the performance of your Paginated reports. Introduction to Power BI Paginated reports. Paginated report is not a new technology from Microsoft perspective. If you are already familiar with Microsoft business intelligence products like SSIS, SSRS, SSAS, so they have a component called SSRS, which is nothing but SQL Server reporting services. So they have taken that SSRS component and they have hosted in Power BI Cloud. So which means you can start creating your SSRS reports or Power BI Paginated reports using Power BI Report Builder, and you can host that report in Power BI Cloud. So which means you can handle both Power BI interactive reports and pixel perfect Paginated reports in a single umbrella. Why we need this Power BI Paginated report? As you know, the adoption towards Power BI is keep increasing. So which means organizations are keep using Power BI as one of their major data model and BI products. And when you have a modern interactive report, it has some limitations on exporting side. So it will not be very suitable where you want to export your data from your report with proper or same layout and formats. So that's where you can consider Power BI Paginated report, and you can build your solutions on Paginated reports, and you can deliver those reports to the business users. And who can use this report? As you know, when Microsoft introduced this Power BI Paginated component, they have introduced this as a workload in Power BI service. So it's a separate workload which you can see in the service. This workload is not applicable when you have Power BI Premium or Power BI Pro license. So if you want to leverage this Power BI Paginated report, that workload is available under Power BI Premium capacity, Premium per user, and Power BI Embedded. So which means you have to have any one of these premium capacity to make use of this Power BI Paginated reports. With the recent release of Power BI Premium per user, small cell organizations have started leveraging this Paginated report as one of their BI solutions. And when we can use this report, as I said, if you have a requirement to build operational or pixel perfect layout specific reports, then you can go with Power BI Paginated reports. And where you can see these Paginated reports used widely. Right, if you take any migration projects, migration will handle like legacy to modern BI. For example, if you have SAP Business objects related reports. Sometimes those reports are built in a tabular format with the different conditional formattings and different layouts. So when you try to migrate those business objects related reports to Power BI, then most of the time you might consider this paginated report will be a suitable candidate when you want to migrate those reports. And still organizations wants to migrate their legacy reports like SSRS on-premises report into cloud. On those cases, you can see this paginated report involved so much on those scenarios. Okay, let's start the demo. My first demo is Power BI integration. So here I'm going to explain how you can integrate your Power BI paginated reports within your Power BI desktop reports. First, let me show you the paginated report which I built. It's kind of a simple report. Let me show you how I built this report. Here you can see. So this is a report. It's a simple report where I have a parameter called color name and I have two different data sets. One data set is for a main data set, and this data set I have created actually just to supply the list of values for this parameter. So I can open the report and I can pass a value. Let's say I'm going to pass black as a color and I'm going to click view report. So this value will be passed into the dataset and we'll be seeing this layout. So it's kind of a simple report. Let's see how we can integrate this report in Power BI Desktop. So when you open this Power BI Desktop, and you can see a built-in visual called paginated report. So this was introduced in June 2021 release. So if you are using a previous version of Power BI Desktop, then you will not see this paginated report visual. So you need to make sure that you are using the latest version of Power BI Desktop, and you will be seeing this visual as a pre-built visual, and you can use this visual in your reports. The first design consideration that I want to highlight here, whenever you start creating any Power BI solution or Power BI reports, if you are planning to use Power BI dataset as a source across Power BI desktop reports and paginated reports, first thing you need to decouple your data set and then report. So that's what I have done. So I have decoupled, I have published my dataset, and I'm going to connect the dataset from my Power BI desktop report. So this is my dataset, Contosa sales, and I'm going to create a report. So once I click create, it is going to load all the tables which are defined in that dataset and which is connected to live connection. And I'm going to use this paginated report, and here you can see. So it is asking us to connect to a report, right? So when I add this visual, here you can see the property or a field section called parameters. So this is the place where we have to use our Power BI fields. Let me show you first here. Just click connect report, and this is going to show all the list of reports from all the workspaces wherever you have. As a first prerequisite, you need to sign in with your Power BI desktop so that it will automatically connect your credentials, and you will fetch all the reports, paginated reports from all the workspaces. And we are interested to integrate this sales by product. Click that and you will see set parameter. So when I click set parameter, this is going to analyze your RDL report and it will list out all the parameters which are available in this report. As you know, so we have just only one parameter which is called color name, and this is highlighted here. The next step, you need to map your data field into this parameter. Then only you can see the C report will be enabled. So to map the Power BI field or data field, you just make sure to add the field in the parameter section. So I'm going to add this color name as a parameter. Once I added, here you can see, so this section will be enabled and I can choose the color name, and it is going to show the distinct list of values here under value section. Now you can see the C report is enabled. I can click C report. So once I click C report, the report will start load and you will see the same paginated report within this Power BI desktop. And you can see we got the report. And here we have few options. You can see we have export option. So this export is still applicable, which you saw here, right? Or in export we have all of these options. So basically they have embedded the whole features of this paginated report into Power BI desktop. And you will see export option, and you have a page navigation option. And if you go to format, there are two specific options which is called a toolbar. If the toolbar is on, then you can see all of these options. If I switch it off, then you will not see those export or navigation options. So make sure to enable this, because people are interested to export this into different formats, right? And then we have a parameter section. If you enable this and then it is going to show a parameter. So when you click parameter, this is going to show the parameter name and the values which we are passed. And if you want to allow users to change it, and you can enable this parameter. But my recommendation would be like just always make sure to disable this, and we can control this in the slices. I'll show you in a second. And then you have auto apply, which means if you have a slicer and if you modify any value, and if you want to automatically apply those value into this paginated report, and you can make sure to on this. I'll show you, I'll tell you where you can use this option. And let us try to add one slicer. So since we just have only one parameter called color, I'm going to make same color as a slicer here. So here you can see I have different colors, and I can choose one of the color. So when I choose orange, here you can see we got apply changes button. So if I click apply changes, so this orange color will be passed into that parameter value, and it is going to show only the data related to orange color. So this is the place you can see this option is useful, auto apply. If I make it on, right, so whenever I do a selection, the query will be changed, and the report will react for those selection, and it is going to start showing the results. So this will be very good option when you have a single slicer, and when you interact with the slicer and you want to see the results immediately, and you can make sure to on this one, on this option. In case if you have multiple slicers, and even if you are allowing users to choose multiple value from the same slicer, then it will unnecessarily create multiple queries behind the scenes. To avoid those scenarios, you can make sure to off this one, and make sure to select any value or allow users to choose any value from any slicer, and finally ask them to click this apply changes. So when they click apply changes, it will consider all the selection which you made on the slicers, and that value will be passed into this parameter, and you will be seeing the results. So this is how you can actually integrate your Power BI paginated report within the Power BI desktop. And this will be very helpful for even business users and developers. I'll tell you why. Right? So if you take business users perspective, so before this integration happens, if they have a report like Power BI modern interactive reports or PBX reports, and if they have any RDL reports like paginated report, they have to go to different reports, and they need to get their insights, and they can export it. So with the help of this introduction, right, you can create one single report, and you can have all the interactive related visuals in a single place, and you also can have the paginated report embedded in the same report. So which means business user can directly go to one report, and they can use these interactivity between your Power BI desktop report visuals, and then Power BI paginated report visuals, and then they can export the data from that particular report itself. So that will be a very good option for business users. From a developer perspective, right, so developer need to spend time on creating paginated reports and Power BI desktop reports, which remain same. So it is obvious, like we need to develop those two different reports. But when you embed, when you try to interlink both reports like paginated reports and Power BI desktop reports together, that's where we started to create measures, separate measures, and consider them as a link or a button somewhere. So when users click that button or a link, it will take you to the paginated report. Then there will be passing the filters which we got from desktop, and it will be passed through URL into paginated reports. So we have to spend time on adding those measures and configuring the links or a button, right? So which can be avoided now with the help of this integration. So which means you can directly embed the report, and you don't need to spend any time on this, just to map the report parameters. So that's where it is very useful. And one more thing I need to highlight here. So it is going to reduce your development effort. So let me tell you why or how you can reduce your development effort. Before that, you need to understand how these reports are behaving behind the scenes. I mean, like whenever you run the report, let's start run the report. Before that, I want to show what are the queries are generated behind the scenes whenever you interact with the report. So to trace the query which are generated from Power BI Paginated report, I'm using DAX Studio. So since I'm using Power BI dataset as a source for Paginated report, I can use DAX Studio to capture all the queries, and then I can analyze like which query got triggered when I perform a certain operation. So I just open DAX Studio and I can connect here. So since I have created this workspace as a Power BI premium per user workspace, and I can leverage that XML endpoint concept. So I can go to settings and I can get the XML endpoint connection for this workspace. Just copy and go to DAX Studio and just connect to that Azure Analysis Services dataset. So just connect with your credential. Once you connected, right, you can choose your dataset. My dataset is Contosa Sales, and then make sure to choose this option, all queries. This all queries window will help you to capture what queries are generated whenever we access the report. Now I'm going to run the report. So our report is sales by product. So I can run this report, and you can see it is loading report. Now we got a window where we can choose a parameter value. So I have a list of values from parameters. So if I go to DAX Studio, here you can see we got one query generated. So basically this is the query which we have in our Power BI report builder as a separate dataset. So let me show you. This is the dataset which contains that same query. So which means whenever we run the report, this particular dataset will trigger, it will start run, and it will pull all the list of unique value which we mapped under this particular parameter. So that's what happened. Now if I choose any one value or a multiple value, and I can click view report. So once I click view report, this is where the second the main dataset is running, dataset query is running. If you see here, we got another query. So let me show you the query. So basically this is a query that I used in my main dataset. So here we passed the black value, so that came into the query, and we got the results only specific for the selected color. So this is how actually it is working in Power BI Paginated report from the browser. Let's go back to the Power BI desktop. What I'm going to do, I'm going to repeat the same process. Let me delete all the queries which are generated. Go to Power BI desktop, and I'm going to start from the beginning. Go to edit, and I have selected this report, and then set parameter. Okay, parameter is mapped, and I'm going to click see report. So once I click see report, you can see it says loading report. So the report is loading, and once this is loaded, we can go and check the DAX Studio. Here you can see it generated 3 queries. Previously it generated only 2 queries. This time it is 3 queries. If you see here, these 2 queries are same. So these 2 queries to get the list of values for the parameters. This is a main query, main dataset query. So which means if you have one dataset for parameter, one dataset for a main report, then you will see 3 queries are generated. But in a real time, you may have multiple parameters, right? You may have multiple datasets, and you may have multiple visuals. So on those scenarios, each one parameter and one dataset will trigger 3 means. So you can think of like how many queries will be generated. So now you understand how these queries are generated behind the scenes. So let's come back to the point where I said it is going to help you to reduce your development effort. Because if you see this report development, I have one parameter defined and I have 2 datasets. So let's take a scenario where you have 5 parameters. If you want to pass list of value for all the 5 parameters, then you need to create 5 datasets for parameters and maybe 1 or 2 main dataset parameters. So it is going to increase your number of parameters based on parameter datasets based on number of parameters. And also think about a scenario where you want to introduce a cascading parameter. So in those cases, it is not just you are going to create a parameter, you also need to consider the filter context, right? The filter conditions. If you have a region, state and city, the state dataset, parameter dataset, you need to consider region as a filter. And when you go to city dataset, parameter dataset, there you need to consider region plus state. So you need to handle those filter conditions, and that is kind of a effort that you need to put on each parameter dataset. And think about another scenario where you want to make this color name as an optional parameter. Then you need to handle those logics that are conditions within your main datasets. So you can avoid those things when you try to integrate your paginated report into Power BI Desktop. So which means you no need to create any specific parameter datasets. So you just have only one dataset which can have all the parameters are connected, and you can start creating your reports. Let me show you how you can achieve that. So let me go back here, and I'm going to add one more paginated report. So if you see here, I'm going to connect again. I have a report called sales by product, no list of value. I can choose this, and I can set parameter, and I can map the parameter which is called color name, and I can choose here, and I can see report. So if you see this report query will be different than the previous set of queries. So if you see the result, the previous 3 queries got generated in earlier report, but the new report has generated only 1 query, which is nothing but a main dataset query. So in this report, I don't have any separate dataset for parameters. So this is how you can plan, you can minimize your development effort when you want to consider this integration. Okay, let's talk about some of the use cases with this paginated report visual. The first use case would be like wherever you need the pixel perfect layout or a conditional formatting with export options. Instead of using these regular table and matrix, you can use this paginated report visual. You can develop your paginated report with whatever layout and format you need, and you can embed it here, and wherever you want to use these two visual, and you can use this visual. Right, so let me show you one example. So you can use that particular scenario on a drill through cases. So let's say you have a summary page, and where you want to allow the users to drill through to the detail level. In detail level, you may have a different layouts and formats, and maybe users are interested to export that into a Excel or a CSV or whatever format. Right, on those scenarios, you can use that paginated report in the drill through section. So here in this page, right, I have passed those parameter like color and class. So if I'm in a summary page, I can just filter down or play interactivity. So I have filtered only economy, class name, and out of that I'm going to choose only black. So I can right click and I can go to drill through detail. So it will take you to detail page where I have embedded my paginated report. And if you see here, the selection which we made in the previous summary page, all will be passed here. So we have selected economy and we have selected black, and both has been considered as a filter on this particular report, and we got the result only for those selection. Right. So this is how you can plan wherever you need these two visual, and you can start using this paginated report visual. The second use case would be like if you take SAP business objects to Power BI report migration. So SAP business objects has a concept called input controls. So which is similar to slices in Power BI desktop reports. So if you take a scenario where the business objects has 10 input controls, you can go to the 5th input control and you can change or filter the value. Whatever value which you have filtered, all the previous and the below input controls or slices value will be changed. If you see that particular technique or a particular feature directly comparing with the paginated report, we don't have that kind of a facility or a feature. So we have a slicer in Power BI desktop, but we don't have in Power BI paginated report. In Power BI paginated report, we just have only parameters, As you know, Power BI parameter cannot react in a bi-directional way. So it is going to be in a single directional way. Right. Alright, on those scenarios, right, what you can do, you can start creating your report in Power BI Paginated report in a report builder, and just define all the parameters. As I said, you no need to create any separate data sets for parameters, and you can define all the slices or input controls within your Power BI desktop report. Here, let's take a scenario. I need an input control for class, color name, and manufacturer, and maybe a cascading parameter or may not. And I have defined all the slices, and I can embed my paginated report here. So let's connect to the report, and this is my report. Set parameter. So in this report I have three different parameters: class, color name, and manufacturer. Right, so I need to take all the fields: class name, color name, and then manufacturer. Right, so I have three fields. I can map each one of them here. So class name is class name, and the color name is color name, and finally manufacturer. If you see here, so we have three fields. We already mapped two fields, so that's the reason those two fields are grayed out. You cannot select the same field on this manufacturer. Even though if I add one more time, right, here you can see, let me add one more time. Here you can see we got 4, but still you will not see that class name as a field, because we already mapped the field in our previous parameters. So if you really need to use same field for different parameters, you need to make sure to create one more column with a different name and then use them in the parameter mapping. So I can choose manufacturer here. And one more thing, like whenever you want to map the parameter, you need to make sure to choose the parameter type as visible or hidden. If you go to paginated report, we have a different option. One is visible and hidden, and finally internal. So if you set visible and hidden, those two parameters can be mapped in Power BI desktop. If you set any parameter as internal parameter, you cannot map those parameter in Power BI desktop. So that you need to keep in mind. And now go back to this report and click see report. So once this is done, so here you can see I don't select any value, which means the report will load with all the values of class, color, and the manufacturer. If I choose one value, let's say if I choose economy, so this economy is going to show only the color which are related to economy. So I can choose one value, for example blue. So again, if I go to the next one, manufacturer, it is going to show the list of manufacturer with respect to blue and economy. So I can choose one of the value here, and I can just click apply changes. So now this paginated report will start consider all of these parameter value, and it's going to show only the results which are specific to these selections. So this is how we can actually achieve those kind of issues like which you had in SAP Business Objects Migration, right? Let's go back to the slide again. So these are the quick highlights which I covered now. So I was talking about the new paginated report visual. If you don't see this visual, and as I said, you need to install the latest version of Power BI Desktop, at least after June 2021 version. And then you can easily interact your slices or report visuals with your Power BI paginated reports when you map those parameters. And also finally you need to consider this is going to minimize your development effort, because you no need to create separate datasets for parameters, and you no need to handle any optional parameter logics within your Power BI paginated report. Rest all other development is mandatory. So which means you need to create a dataset, main dataset, and you need to define the required parameters, and you need to build your layouts, header and footer, which remains same. The development effort which I consider is just to develop the datasets for parameters. My next demo, how you can improve your look and feel of your paginated report. Okay, my second demo, I'm going to show a report called Modern Report. Here I have implemented a feature which will help you to enhance your look and feel of your report. So this will be applicable where you have a report, paginated report created where you have multiple visuals, right? On those scenarios, this will be a very good start or very good candidate to apply these kind of features or navigations, right? So if you see, this is a simple report. So I have just a kind of a logo and report name, and I have a simple table and with colors and conditional formats, right? So on the top here you can see I have all features as a button, and if you see product and sales, I have a kind of a button. When I mouse over, you can see a hand symbol, so which means these are a kind of a button where I can click it. So if I click product, it will take you to a product page where I have different set of visuals. So here again you can click this sales market, so this will take you to a sales market page, and you will see a different set of visuals. As you know, we don't have a page concept how we have in Power BI Desktop. Here we have everything in a single page. So if you want to add multiple visuals, you need to add one by one, or you can add side by side. So that's how you can build a report. To handle these kind of navigations, right, so you have to make use of the pre-built feature called the bookmark. So here we are not doing anything. So the navigation, page navigation or paginated report, that terminology remains same. If you see here, if I go to product, it will take you to page 4. So which means the first visual, this visual is extended until third page. So first page is this layout, this visual, and again this visual data is extended to page 2 and page 3, and you will see the second set of visuals in page 4. So this will be very good use case for business users who wants to see the visuals directly. So instead of navigating to pages one by one, and they can directly go to that visual by clicking these buttons. I'll show you how I implemented this feature. As I said, this is done through a bookmark. So we have a bookmark in paginated report. So this bookmark is totally different than what we have in Power BI Desktop report. If you see this this report, so basically I have 3 different sections. So this is a first visual, and this is second set of visual, and finally we have third set of visual. So on top of each visual, I just repeated the header for every time, right? So this is the reason whenever we click the report or a button, it will take you to the respective section. Let's say this is the button, this is a text box. I just named it, I just colored in a different way. So if all feature is selected, which is in a first page, which will be in a black color. If product is selected, then it is going to be a second section, which will be in black color. On the same way, sales market. So if you see here, the first section, or this is kind of a rectangle. So in paginated report, you can use rectangle to group different objects. Here I have grouped my logo and then a report name and all of these buttons. And for this rectangle property, you can see property called bookmark. I just named this as H1. In the same way, I have named this rectangle bookmark as H2, and finally the third one is H3. And if you see here, this is a text box. As you know, we have a property called action for each text box. I can go to action and I can choose this option, go to bookmark, and here I have selected H2 as a bookmark. So which means whenever I choose this product, it will directly taking to that H2 bookmark. So H2 bookmark is defined on this section, so which is going to show this section and the below visuals, and there is a break on each visual or a rectangle. So if I go to TableX property, here you can see add a page break after, so which means there will be a page break after this visual. If you see here again, there will be a page break after this rectangle. So here you can see, and the same way you can apply for the last set of visuals. So if you don't have any visual after this, you no need to apply a break. So if you apply a break, then it will create one empty blank page, right? Here again I go to action, text box property action, and I selected H1 as a bookmark. So this is how we can easily achieve this kind of navigation. So whenever user click this, it is going to take them to this H2 section, which is nothing but these again a same logo and then report name, and these text boxes colors are changed since product is selected. So I'm not allowing users to select product again, so there will not be any action defined for this product, but they will see the below visuals. And if they choose sales market, then it will take you to the bookmark H3, where we have only these two visuals, so which is in the last page. So this is how you can easily enhance your navigations, and you can give better experience to the end users. And one more option, so here you have a flexibility to combine multiple visuals together. Let's say for example we don't have this kind of small multiples, right? So as we have in Power BI Desktop, so this I have achieved with the help of matrix visual and then pie chart. If you show my RDL or a report builder, you can see, so this is kind of a matrix. So within that matrix cell I have just added one chart. So it is not necessary that I need to add a chart. Within this matrix I can still add one more matrix or one more table on each cell. So this is how we can easily combine multiple visuals together, and you can get this kind of a visual, and you can enhance your end user experience. Let's go back to the slide. So let's have a quick highlight. So I was explaining how you can achieve this kind of a better navigation experience, and I explained like how you can combine multiple visuals and get new different visual. My third demo is export options. So as you know, export is one of the primary reason that we are going with Power BI Paginated report. So export is something like if user wants to export report data into Excel or a PDF or a CSV format, so which is possible in Power BI Paginated report. So we can easily export a report into Excel, which will have the same layout and same conditional formattings. So everything will be done. So that's the main reason that we went with Power BI Paginated report from Power BI Desktop report. Okay, within this export scenario, I just need to cover 4 different scenarios, right? The first scenario, like if you have 2 different visuals, maybe 2 different tables, and when a user wants to export this report into Excel, they may export this report and they will see the data like these 2 table like one by one. So that may not give a better experience for the user, because in case if they want to analyze the first table data, then since we have the second table data in the same sheet or same Excel sheet, then it will be a problem for them because it will not give a better experience for end users. So on those scenarios, right, you can allow them to have these 2 data in a 2 different visuals, 2 different sheets. For example, let's take a scenario. If user wants to export this whole report, this should go to sheet 1 and this should go to sheet 2. So which is possible in Power BI Paginated report. So this can be achieved with the help of setting up a property called page name. So here I have added a rectangle. Within the rectangle I have added a table. So this rectangle or this table has a property called page name. Here you can see. So I just set the page name as all feature. So by default this is blank, so I just set the page name as all feature. So which means when you export this report, the sheet name will be coming as all feature. And again in the second table, right, here I don't have a rectangle, so directly on the table I can see the same property called page name. Here you can see, and I just set the name as colors. So which means when you export this report, there will be 2 sheets created. One is called all features and another sheet called colors. And all feature sheet will have data from this particular table X, and the second color sheet will have this table data. So this is how you can handle that first scenario. Let's go to the second scenario. In second scenario, let's take a report which is connected to SAP HANA. So most of the time SAP HANA may handle huge number of records, and the user may just want to use this report just to get the data extraction, right? So on those scenarios you may handle a huge number of records, and when you try to export or when user try to export the report, they may face an error message it might be the record which they are trying to export from the report may not be able to accommodate into a single sheet. So they may be millions of record, right? So on those scenario, you need to split that millions of record and you need to accommodate on multiple pages in an Excel sheet, right? So on those scenarios, what you can do, let's take a scenario, this table has huge number of record, and when user wants to export, that huge number of records should be splitted into multiple sheets. Then only they can see all the data and they will not see any error message. To configure that, you need to go to the row grouping of this particular table X. Let me enable the grouping, and here you can see I have created a group called group under row groups. If I go to group, you can see a group on property. Here I added a function called ceiling row number, nothing of by 50. So which means if I have 150 record as a result, if I say 50, right, first 50 record will be placed in sheet 1 and second 50 record will be in sheet 2 and the remaining set of records will be in sheet 3. So this is how you can split your records and you can export into different sheets in the same Excel. So that's the second scenario, and the third scenario would be like you need to handle the objects when you try to export. What I mean is, like, in case if you want to export this report and you don't want to see this header in your maybe in Excel or a PDF, right? Then you can control or you can handle the hidden expression to make sure this is hidden when you export to Excel. In the same case, you want to see this header when you want to export to PDF but not in Excel. So on those cases, like you can handle them with the help of render format prebuild function. So this render format prebuild function will show you, like when you are seeing this report in a browser, it is going to show a format, different format. When you download or export this report into PDF, it is going to say that render format is PDF. The same, if you export into Excel, it is going to show a format called Excel Open XML, right? So these are the different render formats which will be considered based on the exporting scenarios, right? If you take a previous report, so here we just repeated the first section header across different pages, right? So when you try to export this, then it is going to create this kind of a header on Excel sheet or even in the PDF. So on those scenarios, you need to make sure this should be hidden only on the Excel or only on the PDF. So that's where I have implemented a function under visibility under hidden expression. If you see here, I have written a function or a expression. So it says if the render format is Excel Open XML, then it is going to say true. So true in the sense it is going to hide this particular section in the Excel export. I have added one more render format called XLXX. So where you can see this XLXX. So when you try to export this report manually to Excel, then it is always going to be Excel Open XML. And even when you set up a subscription and you want to choose Excel as a export type, there also it is going to make use of Excel Open XML format. But let's take a scenario where you want to export this report through REST API, maybe for an automation purpose, right? Whenever you try to export this report with the help of REST APIs, then it is going to consider the format as XLX. So that's the reason you need to make sure, like whether this report is going to be manually exported or through automated way. You just handle both of them here in this hidden expression. So maybe Excel Open XML or XLS. So on both cases, this will be true, which means this particular section, the rectangle, will not be visible on the Excel export, and other places it can be visible. So that's the reason it is false. So this is how we can easily handle the visibility of different objects when you consider export to Excel or export to any other format. And my fourth scenario would be like in case if you want to embed your Power BI Paginated report into your email body, right? Most of the time it may not be a right use case, because Paginated report we just preferred when we have a huge number of record. which will be split on a multiple pages, right? So it is difficult to accommodate all the data into an email body. But still, if you have a scenario where you have a predefined layout with the different formattings, and you want to embed that into a email body, then we don't have an out of the box solution, but I'm going to show you a tip here. So I have a PowerShell script which I created specifically for this purpose. So if you want to export a report and want to embed in your email body, so there are three-step process. So first you need to export that report into Word document. So we have a Word as one of the export option. You can download the report into Word format, and you can convert that Word document into an HTML file. That's the second step. So once you have converted that HTML, in third step you can take that HTML content and you can place that in the email body. So that's the third step. So I have created a PowerShell script which will do that the three-step process for you. Here you can see I'm just defined a document as export format, and I just passed the parameter values, and I'm just calling that export API, which will export that report into document, and I'm using Word to HTML function just to change that exported report into an HTML file, and then finally that HTML body will be placed in the email body. So these are the points that we so far covered, and my next demo is advanced calculation. Okay, in this demo I'm going to show you a simple report. As you know, we have a pre-built set of functions which are available in Paginated report. So we can make use of that function and we can achieve whatever calculations we need. As a best practices, you always try to push all your calculations to database side, and if you are using Power BI dataset as a source, try to push all the calculations towards the Power BI dataset in case if you are not able to push to underlying database systems. Finally, if you are not able to achieve those calculations anywhere in the previous databases or Power BI dataset, then obviously you need to perform those calculations within this Paginated report. Right, so if you see here, I have a simple report called brand name and amount. So we have amount which is split across different brand names, and if you need to get this total amount into a new column where you can perform the percentage, right? So if you take a DAX, we have a calculate function and we can override the filter context and we can get the total amount as a new column easily with the help of DAX. But here we don't have a DAX, we cannot use DAX if it is a report specific calculations, right? So what you can do here, we have a concept called scope. So if I show you the expression, here you can see I'm using the same sum of amount field, but I have defined a scope here. Here sales is nothing but my dataset name. So if you see the datasets, I have a dataset called sales. So when I say sales, the scope is defined at dataset level. So even though if I have a column called brand name, so it is going to override that brand name filter context and it is going to apply the scope at dataset level. So which means whenever I say sum of amount, it is going to get the sum of amount for this whole dataset level without any filters. So let me change the visibility, and if I run the report, you can see it is going to show the total 28059.47 for all the columns, all the rows. So this is how you can make use of the scope. So you can set the scope at group level or in a dataset level, and you can achieve the total amount or a total value. And in case if you want to have the Fabricom as the brand name, so only Fabricom should have a value and rest all the brands should be 0, then you can easily handle them with the help of if else condition, right? So if the brand name is Fabricom, then show the sum of amount, if not then 0. You can easily achieve that. And finally, so if I want to consider a percentage, right? So percentage of this one and this one. So I already utilize the scope here, and I already have a sum of amount which is going to be a brand name wise filtered, right? So I can easily handle, just take this value and put it in a single text box. But I'm going to show you how you can reference these values inside these text boxes. So the reference mean, let's take a scenario like this is the amount. So this is a kind of a text box. This whole table X is collection of text boxes, right? So if I say sum of amount, so this is the value for this text box. The text box name I set it as amount, and here for this text box I just leave the text box name as it is, which is nothing but text box 5. So instead of taking the same calculation again into a different text box, I can refer these text boxes directly, right? So we have a concept called report items, so which you can see here. So these text boxes are under that report items group. So I say report items exclamatory, and amount is nothing but my text box name, and the dot value which is going to have the expression which is defined in the amount text box. The same way, divided by report text box 5 is my text box name, and the value is nothing but whatever the expressions or logic which I define in the text box, right? So I can have like this, and I can make sure to visible this column, and then let me visible this column as well. Column visibility show, and I can run the report. Here you can see we got the result. So which means you can easily refer your text boxes in your calculations. And also if you have a scenario where you want to reuse one of the function or one of the logic across different places, you can go to variables and you can define the expression as a new variable, and you can call that variable in different visuals or objects. And you may have a scenario, right? You want to perform a calculation. Let's say you want to perform a calculation called median, right? So in Power BI Paginated report, we don't have a pre-built function for median. We have a function for min, and we have a function for max, and we still have many other functions, but you will not see a pre-built function for median, right? On those cases, right, you can create your own custom function, and you can use that custom function within this table or visual. So to create your own custom function, you just go to report property, and you can see a section called code, and this is a custom code section which will be default blank, and you can write your own VB script, and you can apply all the logics which you want to perform, and you can consider them as a function. Here you can see I just created a function called median. Within that I just defined all the parameters, all the values, and all the operations which I want to perform, and I just consider this as a function, and I call that function within this text box. Here you can see code is nothing but our block. Within that code block I have added a function called median, so I'm just referring that custom function. And as you know, that median is nothing but just looping through all the existing list of value. Out of that it is going to identify the median logic. So that's how we can easily handle the custom functions within these paginated reports. And these are the points that I highlighted in my demo. So you have a scope here which you can use the scope, and you can get the different level of calculations, and you can refer your text boxes, or you can create a variables, and you can use those references across different text boxes or different visuals. And you have a custom code option where you can create your own functions, and you can leverage that function in your reports. My next demo is connect with any data source. Okay, as you know, you have an option to create a data source. If I show you the list of data source, so these are the list of data sources. If you directly compare this list of data sources with SSRS, you have some additional data sources here. For example, you have Dataverse, and you have Azure Synapse Analytics. So these are kind of additional data connectors which are recently added. And then if you see, Microsoft is already covering most of the Microsoft based data connectors like Azure Analysis Services, SQL Server Analysis Services. So those connectors are already available as a native connectors. And if you see from third party perspective, we have Oracle, and we have Teradata, right? So those connectors can be useful when you connect with Oracle and Teradata. But let's take a scenario where you want to connect with any other third party databases like SAP HANA or any other PostgreSQL, MySQL. So on those scenarios, right, you cannot have a native connector. There is no native connector available. But in recent update, my Power BI team is introduced to this ODBC as one of the connector. So with this ODBC data connector, right, you can connect with your third-party databases. Like if you take SAP HANA has ODBC connector. So you need to make sure to install SAP HANA ODBC connector and create a DSN and use the DSN here, and you can start creating your paginated reports against your SAP HANA databases. And whenever you publish this report into Power BI service, you need to make sure that SAP HANA ODBC drivers are installed in your platform, on-premises data gateway. So this is not just SAP HANA ODBC. If you have any database systems which supports ODBC, you can connect them through this ODBC connector. And still, if you don't see any connector which where you have hosted your data, and you can leverage this powerful connector called the Power BI dataset. So as you know, the connector in Power BI desktop is keep increasing on every release. So there are a lot of connectors are already available. So if you are able to connect your application or a database system from your Power BI desktop, and you can start creating Power BI dataset from your system, and then you can consume that Power BI dataset as a source here. So which means now Power BI paginated report can be connected with any database systems or any applications. Okay, my last demo is high performance report. When I say high performance report, if you take legacy systems, let's take a SSRS scenario. So SSRS is a separate application. The application components will be far away from the data, right? So data will be in a database, and this is a separate component, right? So whenever you create SSRS report, it is always going to create a kind of a query or a metadata. So you can connect your underlying database systems, and you can start creating your query with selected columns and filters and everything, right? So you're going to create a data set. So that data set is not going to hold the data. So it is going to hold the metadata alone. So whenever you run the report, the query will be passed into database system, and the query will be executed there, and then results will be pushed back to the reporting layer. So there will be IO involved. That's the reason you can see SSRS reports will be a slow performing report, because it has to send the query and take the results back. So based on your underlying database system's performance, you will see the performance of your report. Whereas if you see the modern interactive reports, those reports are using in-memory concept, which means data will be resided within this application itself. So whenever you interact with the report, you can see the very good performance, because data is within that application, within that in-memory, right? So how you can leverage those in-memory concept within the paginated reports. Okay, here you can see, as I showed in the data source section, you have option called Power BI dataset. So with that Power BI dataset, you can start connecting your in-memory Power BI datasets as a source, as a data source here. So I can choose my Contoso sales as a dataset, and I can create a dataset, right? So within this dataset, I can choose my data source, and you can see the query designer. When I click query designer, it is going to open this kind of a GUI where you can drag and drop whatever field that you want to use in your report. Let's say if I want to use color name, and then if I want to show my measure called total sales, then I can drag and drop, and I can choose any field as a parameter. So you can handle everything in the GUI itself, and you have a checkbox to select that as a parameter. So when I click OK, this is going to create a main dataset. So behind the scenes, it is going to convert all the GUI operations into a DAX. So here, this is the DAX which we got, and it is going to create a parameter called dim product color name, and it is going to create a separate dataset for that dim product. If I show hidden dataset, it is showing that hidden dataset which is for a parameter. So if I expand the parameter, here you can see under available value, it automatically picked up this dim product color name dataset. Again, on the default value, there is no default value. So now I can start creating a report. So whenever I run the report, these two datasets will be triggered, and you will see the results. So the results will be fast, because we are accessing the data from Power BI dataset which is already in memory. Okay, now I showed how you can create a dataset using GUI, but still if you want to create a dataset with your custom DAX script, you can still create it. You can go to Query Designer and you have option to change this into a design mode. I can choose this design mode, and now this is the window where you can write your own DAX scripts. Right, so this will help you to create your own DAX scripts, and you can use that as a dataset, and then you can create a reports. But still there is a scenario, right? If you go back to the desktop report, okay, I have a page called treat us. So if I run a query, right, if I run here, you can see there is an interaction is happening. Okay, if I go to performance analyzer, so let me start recording and then refresh visual. If you see here, there is a DAX query for this particular visual. I can just copy and I can paste it here. So if you see here, actually this query is using a function called treat as, which if you want to use these kind of a functions like a treat as or whatever script is generated by Power BI Desktop Performance Analyzer, and if you want to use the same kind of a script in a Paginated report, in case if you feel that is going to give a performance boost, you can still use, you can just copy paste this whole query, and you can just remove whatever is not required, and you can easily use them as a data set in Power BI Paginated report. But if you take this kind of a scenario, right, treat as where we are passing green, and in case if you have multiple value, then those multiple values should be again added, right? For example, if I choose one more value here, so I have selected two value, clear, refresh visual, copy query, and just paste in here. Now if you see, if I select two value, it is coming like a green comma gray within double quotes. So if I take this whole script into a paginated report, then we need to convert this whole this section into a parameter based, because we cannot have this hard coded value as a data set. So you need to create a parameter and you need to map this value with a parameter. So by default, when you just replace these two values with a parameter, right, this may not work. If you just select only one value like a green, then you will get the expected result. But if you try to choose multiple value, then you will not see any result, because the parameter will not properly convert your multiple selection into this kind of a format. So that's where I have built another report. Like in this report, I have used dynamic expression based dataset. So this is not a new concept. So this is still available, and if you want to use, you can still use it. So here, instead of going to Query Designer and creating your own query, and I have created a query within this expression. Right. So this is the query that I have used. Basically, it's a kind of a same query. If I paste it here, so it's the same query. What I did is I just converted that whole query into an expression. So I just started with equal to, and I just put a whole query within the double quotes. And if you see the treat as, right, so within this treat as, I'm still making use of the parameter, but I'm not directly using the parameter. So this is where I'm using a function called join. So if multiple products are selected, and those products should be comma separated, and again those product values should be enclosed with double quotes. So that's where I'm handling this kind of expression. So if I use this expression, then I can achieve the expected result. For example, if I run this report, let me clear all the queries from here, and if I choose any value, for example red and black, and I can click view report, and we got the result. If I go to DAX Studio, here you can see this is the script which we got. Let me take the script out, format. Here you can see red and black is passed here, because since I am using those dynamic expression based data set, So I can convert the selection into this kind of a format and I can get the results. Okay, I have covered Power BI with in-memory datasets, which you can consider as a source for paginated reports, and you have option to create a dataset using GUI, and you also have a place where you can write your custom scripts. And on top of that, if you want to perform your own custom scripts with kind of a parameter integrated, and you can still use custom scripts in dynamic expressions. Okay, with that I completed my demos, and these are the resources that I would recommend you to go through. And I have placed all my reports and scripts within this GitHub. And you have Power BI Paginated Reports in a Day course from Microsoft, where you can go through all the videos where you will get knowledge about Power BI Paginated Reports. And all my Power BI tips and tricks are available in my blog dataip.org. And if you want to learn advanced techniques within the Power BI Paginated Report, I would recommend to go through these SSRS. There are a lot of articles, tips and tricks, advanced concepts for SSRS, which you can directly apply in your Power BI Paginated reports. I hope you liked all the demos. Please share your feedback in the chat box. And again, special thanks to Microsoft for supporting Data Platform Geeks and the SQL Server Geeks and their community initiatives. And as I said, try to share this DPS 2021 event in social media. And thank you again. I am still available in the chat and Q&A box to answer more questions or connect with me in the virtual networking launch. Thank you.